Lagos, the largest city in Nigeria that sprawls inland from the Gulf of Guinea across the Lagos Lagoon, once a city of beauty and pride and now to be remembered as a city of pity, heavy protests and a center of unjustifiable violence. To some, the current atmosphere was unpredicted, but to others, the country has been wandering in the miry clay for a very long time. But what is going on in Nigeria? Is there any semblance whatsoever of law and order at all? How did this start? What might the resolution be? Will Nigeria recover? These are some of the questions that puzzle us. Well, on Thursday the 22nd of October, after days of protests about police brutality in Nigeria, President Buhari finally addressed the nation of Nigeria. However, his address was most ambiguous and unrecognizing of 12 demonstrators that were shot and killed earlier in the week. After Buhari's address to the nation, which had done a debilitating blow to the nation, the peoples took to the street. His address could be summed up as callous, unwise, indifferent, commonplace, and disrespectful. In effect, he was urging the Nigerian people to desist from undermining national security instead of tending to the fresh wounds of the nation. You see, Buhari, who was a military dictator in the 1980s, was re-elected to the presidency in 2015. In his first term, he ruled like a dictator, but he proved his mettle by pursuing corruptors, tax evaders, and embezzlers. In effect, he recovered billions of dollars for the Nigerian state. By 2019, voters rewarded him by granting him another term in office. In 2019, the same year that Nigeria declared itself polio-free, Buhari declared the defeat of the insurgent Islamist group Boko Haram. Although this seems to not have been the case, the wounds inflicted by the insurgency are still fresh. What's interesting is that this is not the root of the problem. Nigeria suffers from a profound divide along ethnic and religious lines. This divide appears in the form of marginalization, unequal political appointments, and tribal tension. You see, the South has long accused Buhari of favoring the North, and once again a devolution is in the making and gaining momentum. What this means is that the breakaway state, Biafra, that Nigeria fought between 1967 and 1970 wishes to become independent of Nigeria. To be candid, Nigeria's major ailment is insecurity. To date, there are millions of Christians living in fear of persecution. There are many raids on Christians by armed men or cattle raiders, and this in itself was another burgeoning quagmire for Nigeria. What's even more is that the country is in the middle of a pandemic and lockdowns, but these factors have unfortunately led to an increase in the unspeakable injustices wrought on women either by misogynistic culture, country, or people. This led to a crisis point, and finally a state of emergency was declared. What's interesting is that this move on the part of the government only came days after heated protests. However, those very protests were a precursor of what was to come. During the 2 weeks of lockdown starting from March 20, 2020, 18 citizens were killed as a result of police brutality and mismanagement. What's interesting here is that this does not come as a surprise, since Nigeria is known for its notorious record on human rights violations for the slightest of offenses. Up until that point, police brutality was followed through hashtags that piques the attention of the nation, then fades away after a few days. The protests began innocently, with mostly young people demanding the scrapping of a notorious police unit, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS. I think when most look to Nigeria now, they see a breakdown of order. However, the people have had enough. Hashtags have now become protests, and it is now unclear just how far the people will go to maintain justice and integrity in Nigeria. Following these protests, the SARS was dissolved, but the protesters went on demanding a broader reform in the way Nigeria is governed. After a fusillade claiming the lives of some 12 people in Lagos, Nigeria's army took no responsibility. When the nation remains hurt, an indifferent Buhari iterates on the news waves that his administration is committed to hearing the plight of the people, but that he will not sit on the fence and allow hooliganism. However, the president conveyed in a meeting that 51 civilians, 11 police officers, and 7 had been killed in the unrest, though it is unclear if this figure includes the 12 civilians killed by security forces in Lagos on Tuesday. As the president remains indifferent to the plight of the Nigerian people, the administration refuses to take responsibility. While buildings are going up in flames, violence becomes a norm, and protesters are met with brute force by police officers. It is still unclear as to how many people were killed in Lagos, the epicenter of this cry of justice. Even so, there is no concrete end in sight. Nigeria might just be getting started.